Welcome to another episode of the Posh Pescatarian. My husband and I just got back from a really fabulous vacation. But I tell you, by the third or fourth day, we were ready for some home cooking. So the first thing I did when I got home was go to the grocery store, and I was pleasantly surprised to discover that Copper River salmon was on sale. Now, if you know anything about me, then you know that I am a huge fan of Copper River salmon, and I live for this season, one of my favorite food seasons of the year, and you're going to see why later. So what we're going to make tonight is going to be broiled Copper River salmon with roasted potatoes and sauteed green Swiss chard. It is a perfect homecoming meal. So you ready to get started? Okay, good, let's go. Okay, first things first, let's talk ingredients. We're making Copper River salmon, so we need Copper River salmon. So let me show you what my fish looks like. Beautiful, right? Bright orange flesh. This is boneless, but it's got the skin on. Now, my husband and I enjoy eating salmon skin, but if salmon skin is not your thing, I'm going to advise you to cook with the skin on and just move it aside during the eating process, okay? Salmon skin is going to impart a really wonderful flavor and will help keep the fish intact during the cooking process. So even if you don't want to eat it, I want you to cook it with it on. You promise? Okay, good. The other thing we're going to need for tonight is going to be our Swiss chard, and it looks like this. Whoops, looks like this. And this is an entire bunch of Swiss chard. It's going to do my husband and I pretty good for tonight, but if you're cooking for more people, you may need 2 bunches. If you're just cooking for yourself, then this bunch should get you through this meal and maybe a couple of others, depending on how big of a vegetable fan you are. So Swiss chard, either green or red, but they both are fantastic. Okay, the other thing we're going to need for tonight is going to be our potatoes. I'm using baby red potatoes because I enjoy cooking with them. You can use white potatoes, and you can also use the larger red potatoes. You just want to cut them in half. So this is what I'm using for tonight. I'm using about 3 per person. We're not huge potato eaters, but we really enjoy them. We're going to boil these with a little bit of garlic, drain them, and then put them in the oven to roast. It's one of the most fabulous ways to cook potatoes ever. Trust me. The other things we're going to need for tonight are probably things you've heard of before but may have never used, so I just want to make sure I introduce them properly. The first thing is going to be a shallot. It looks like this. A shallot is basically a milder version of an onion. We're going to use this for our Swiss chard. Now, you can use a regular onion, but that flavor may be too bold for our Swiss chard, and you may find that it competes, but a shallot is a perfect accompaniment, okay? So, the other thing we're going to need is going to be our chives that we're going to use for our potatoes. Chives look like this. They smell wonderful. And it's basically, or chives are basically a milder version of green onion. So if you can't find chives, it's okay to use green onions, the green part only, and just chop them really, really finely. Everything else that we're going to need for tonight, you're going to find on the ingredients list coming up next.
People get ready. There's a train a-coming. You don't need no baggage, you just get on board.
Okay, let's start cooking. We're going to start with our potatoes because that's what's going to take the longest amount of time to cook. So get a pot of boiling water and add a tablespoon of kosher salt to that. Next, you want to add your potatoes and your garlic cloves. We're going to boil that for about 10 minutes. Let me show you how.
All you need is faith to hear the diesel humming. Don't need no ticket, you just thank the Lord. People get ready, train to joy.
Okay, our potatoes are on their way. Now let's get started on the salmon. Now would be a good time to turn on your oven. Okay, now we're going to cut our salmon into serving size pieces. Okay, that one piece of fish gave us 5 really wonderful pieces of salmon to work with. So let me show you how we're going to get these things seasoned up and into the pan. We're going to slice this lemon in half and put it to the side. Next, we're going to just wipe this off again and take 1 clove of garlic and cut off the end. Take that garlic, which is like a bruschetta technique that I have, and we're going to rub this garlic on top of the fish. Take your olive oil. If you got one of those sprayers, which I have, I don't have time to find right now, go ahead and sprinkle that with olive oil, and then let's give it another rub of garlic. Okay, next take your salt. And your black pepper. And your lemon. Okay, I know that was a really simple way to prepare fish, but trust me, Copper River salmon has a flavor all its own, so you don't want to overpower it with lots of heavy seasoning. So just do what I did and you'll be totally fine. Okay, in the meantime, our potatoes are done, so let's get them drained and let me show you how to finish them off.
People get ready. The train to Jordan. Picking up passengers from coast to coast. Fate is key. Open the doors and board them. There's hope for all among the loved the most.
Okay, our potatoes are on their way, so let me show you how we're going to finish off our fish.
Every man gets ready on the train to Jordan. It's coming, baby. I want to be the one to stay home. No way. I would like to get my people on the way. For the real lobster, the motor train.
Okay, our fish and potatoes are moments away from being completed, so let me show you how we finish up our chard and get this thing plated up. And the first thing you're going to notice is that your chard has this vein running through it. So what we want to do is peel away from the vein. You can either use a knife or use your fingers. I'm choosing to use my fingers. I'm going to break this into bite-sized pieces just like this, and then get it into our salad spinner to rinse it and get all the dirt and the sand off, okay? Just like this.
People get ready, Jordan train is coming. And if you listen good, you hear the diesel humming. Ain't no room for you if you've been committing sin. You hurt all mankind and your chances slim. Faith is your only key, open the doors, let me in. From the Father, there is no escaping. Leave out the drummer, make the bass and rhythm.
There's a train, there's a train, there's a train coming, people. Get on board. There's a train coming, people. Get on board.
People get ready. There's a train a-coming. You don't need no baggage. You just get on board. All you need is faith to hear the diesel humming. Don't need no ticket. You just thank the Lord.
There's a train, there's a train, there's a train coming, people. Get on board. There's a train coming, people. Get on board. There ain't no room for the hopeless sinner who would hurt all mankind just to save his
So
own.
now for one of my favorite parts of the show, and you know that it is, tasting the fruit of my labor. So, what I've got here is a wonderful broiled Copper River salmon, roasted potatoes and garlic, and sauteed Swiss chard. I'm just going to dive right in. Okay, salmon, a little bit of that, a little bit of the garlic, a little bit of potato, everything at once, and a little bit of the Swiss chard. This is my welcome home meal, right? Okay, excuse me for 1 second. Start with the salmon. Super rich, flavorful, fatty. This Swiss chard and the shallot, they work perfectly together. I'm going to taste this potato one more time. With the chives, nice little bite. Perfect. Wow. So, for the Posh Pescatarian, I'm Stephanie. Bon appetit.
Have pity on